Hi guys, Tory MP Robert Jenrick is very good at doing two things: catching people dodging their train fares and dodging questions himself. So he was on a Radio 4 podcast where he was asked about prison releases when the Conservatives were in charge, and unfortunately we didn't get an answer.
I thought it was one of the most farcical appearances by a senior cabinet minister I've ever seen in the years that I've been in Parliament. This man is supposedly our Deputy Prime Minister. He couldn't come before the House of Commons, explain what had happened, and then ensure that he answered questions.
But then, as we've just been hearing yesterday in Parliament, your side couldn't count to six. In other words, you get 6 questions, you get 5 questions, and you went over the allotted questions, so you didn't hit it home. I mean, the entire
is that really the heart of this issue?
No,
Justin?
no. I'm just saying that the episode yesterday in Parliament, since you've brought it up, was farcical on both sides. On accidental releases, there have been dozens a year for years, haven't there, including under Conservative administrations. Under Conservative administrations, why were they happening?
Look, every single accidental release from a prison is unacceptable.
But why were they happening?
The average, however, for the last 10 years was 57 per year. That's 57 too many. I never want to see one of these happening. But they have increased dramatically in the last 12 months under this Labour government. Last year, there were 262. That's a 130% increase under Labour.
Okay, so why were they happening, Robert? Unfortunately, we didn't get an answer because he doesn't want to answer the question, because if he was honest, he would say, well, it was happening because we were cutting the public services. We were reducing funding going into the prison service. We were not reforming it in a way that would actually improve the situation. Because it's not just about money, it's also about reforms. There are issues regarding the staffing, especially the senior staff, that there is not a proper turnover. There's not an ethos within the prison system to look for problems and resolve those problems. So that's an issue. But when it comes to the government, they have to ultimately take responsibility for this. And of course, Robert Jenrick and the Conservatives do not like taking responsibility for things. They prefer to blame someone else. So, of course, Robert is not going to answer because he would have to take responsibility. It's easier just to come with your figures and say, look, the number of people who have been released by mistake has dramatically increased. But then we have to ask why. What is the Labour government doing wrong? What should they be doing, Robert? Well, they should be investing more in the prison service because the previous governments were not doing that. See, the Conservatives, differently to Reform are basically Conservatives 2.0, but they try to present themselves as something new. The Conservatives can't do that, at least for now. They can't say we are fresh, we will come up with new ideas. No, because you have created these problems. And the prison service is just one example. Pretty much every government department was run into the ground by the Conservatives. And what they're trying to suggest now is, well, look at all these problems. These are the responsibility of Rachel Reeves or David Lammy or the Prime Minister or whoever the relevant government minister is. They have to take responsibility. Yes, but it's like if you inherited a house that was falling down and then the people in that house were complaining about a hole in the ceiling or a hole in the roof. Yes, well, it'll take time to fix that. It's going to take money to fix that. Now, I'm not saying that Labour can't get away with this and Labour can't just blame the Tories until the next election. In some ways they will be right to, but that's not going to cut it with the public. The public want to see public services improved. They want to see fewer mistakes like this. It will take time and money to fix these problems. But the Conservatives really should sit down and shut the F up because they are the ones who created this problem. They're the ones who avoided doing the maintenance on the home and allowed it to fall into disrepair. But they will, of course, sit on the sidelines saying, hey, there's a hole in the roof. Why aren't you fixing it? Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think, and I'll see you in the next video.